Let's talk about customers in JSM. Now, most recently, Atlassian has really empowered and put in a lot of emphasis into setting up and configuring your customers in ways that just weren't previously possible before. And so in this video, I'm going to be giving you a lot of tips, a lot of expert level advice on how to manage your customers. Now, I've been managing thousands and thousands of different customers, so I've seen a little bit and I know a lot. And so I want to instill that information into you so that you can help make the right decisions when it comes to your customers for your Jira Service Management projects. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. Drop a like if you get value out of this video, and check out the links down below so you can find the links to my merch store, my paid courses, and of course, links to the sponsors that make these videos possible.
Don't wanna sleep in, cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move.
This video is sponsored by ReleaseTEAM. All right, so let's dive deeper into customers, and we can start off by defining what is a customer. So a customer is only available in Jira Service Management. You are not going to see this in Jira Product Discovery, in Jira Software, Jira Work Management, or Jira Align. This is only going to be within the context of Jira Service Management. Now, what is a customer and what makes them so unique? Well, a customer is an individual who is registered. They have an Atlassian account. That means that their email, whatever email that may be, whether it's a Gmail, Outlook, or a company email, or whatever, it doesn't matter where those emails are from, but their email has been registered with Atlassian and they are now considered an Atlassian ID, and thus they can now be eligible to become a customer. So these customers are individuals, again, registered through Atlassian, that can interact with your Jira Service Management product in really one of two different ways. They can email people in, which by the way doesn't require the user to be registered through Atlassian because it's just an email, or they can go through a portal and submit a request. Now this one is where you do kind of want to require that Atlassian ID requirement. Now, the customer is a very unique thing in Jira Service Management because unlike Jira Software where every user needs a license to play, the customers are free. And you can have as many customers as you want, and there's no limit there. So you will not pay, I repeat, you will not pay for your customers inside of Jira Service Management. All your customers are totally free, but it does allow you to manage those customers. JSM has tools that I'm going to be showing you in this video and techniques to manage those customers and take control so that not just anybody on the internet can submit items to your particular portal. And again, I'm going to give you some helpful tips on how to make the customer experience be easier, because one of the things that you need to consider as you're utilizing Jira Service Management is your customer external to your company or are they internal to your team, right? Maybe they're the rest of the company, right? Maybe they're your marketing department, or maybe they're every user because you're running an IT help desk, right? And so it depends on how you define that customer, and that definition of your customer is going to be really, really critical for these best tips here to really instill their effect. So that's what a customer is, and that's why customers are valuable. So now let me go show you how customers are managed within Jira Service Management. So we're going to start off by going over to a Jira Service Management project, and I'm going to show you where you start seeing some of these settings and how you should be thinking about it. So under channels and people, there's a customer section, and we covered this in last week's video where we set up organizations, right? So in last week's video, we were setting up organizations. So if we go into our Apple one here, you're going to see that I have a bunch of customers with a bunch of fake emails, so don't email these folks, right? And I have these all set up so that they're customers, right? And so for the purpose of that video, these customers are in here to just help organize them as a group, right? As an organization, which is why they're in my Apple organization. But the customer is really the most critical thing. The organization that we covered last week is literally just like a group, a container, but the customer is really where the magical thing happens. Now, for each of these customers, this is kind of where you manage them, right? This is where they exist, but what can they do happens on the next item. So once you have your customers established, and I do recommend you put them in orgs. That's my pro tip number one. Put your customers into an org so you know who they're associated with. But the other thing that you want to worry about is what kind of permissions do they have? Now, naturally, they're able to submit requests in the portal. And so there is a permission setting in your project settings over here that you can go to, and there is a project role of service desk team, but you'll also notice that there's a service project customer portal access. And so this is very, very critical for you to pay a lot of attention to and also set up correctly, because you don't want your customers to be like administrators of the project, even though it's not going to be possible, because in order to do 99% of the things on this screen, that customer needs to be a licensed user, which makes them an agent. But for some reason, Atlassian also throws them in here, but I'm just going to cover where they need to be absolutely 100%. And that's in this browse projects, in this customer, they need to be here, right? So this particular role of service project customer portal access needs to be in your browse projects. If it's not there, then you're not going to have a very pleasant experience. Everything else, it's okay for them to not be in it. It's not going to be critical, but there is one other one that is very, very critical, and that is going to be, they need to be able to create issues. If they don't have the ability to create issues, then guess what? They're not going to be able to submit items in the portal. So what you're going to do is you're going to want to make sure that they have access to the portal, browse projects, and you're going to want them to be able to create issues in that portal, create issues. Now, everything else should probably not be set for them because they don't particularly care. Everything else is very, very optional, right? If you want them to edit, that's up to you, not critical. Same thing with linking, same thing with modifying reporters, right? These are very, very optional items that I recommend you observe and just see if they're necessary for you and your team. They may or may not be critical, right? So just keep that in mind. Now, one other one that I do recommend is definitely leaving the commenting and attachments, right? You want your customers to be able to attach stuff, and you want your customers to be able to add comments. So again, those are not as critical, but very, very helpful if they can attach things and leave comments. So if you're having problems with those, then that means that your customer is not set up correctly. So those are the permissions. Now, today's tutorial is brought to you by ReleaseTEAM. Successful DevOps requires a balance of people, processes, and tools. ReleaseTEAM's experts can help you succeed at every step of that journey. Their expert staff works to understand your unique needs, explore your options, and deliver a solution tailored to your objectives and culture. Visit releaseteam.com for more information. We can also fine tune. So under people here, we can now go and essentially add people. So I can go and find my Steve that I had from last time, steve@apple.com, and I can give him the role of customer. But it's not this customer. Don't make that mistake. It's going to be service desk customer. So we're going to want to make sure we do that. And when we do this, we're explicitly giving that individual now the power of customer. Now, keep in mind that this is automatically done. If that individual sends an email to your project, then they're typically added automatically as a customer already for you. So if you have a JSM project, don't be surprised if you come into this screen and you see a lot of different just random people with a bunch of different random emails, because if they've emailed you, they're going to be automatically set up in here so that then they can go into the portal and visualize their tickets that they've submitted. So this list will dynamically grow for you, or you can take control and add the individuals yourself. That's pretty much it. So again, you can fine tune these users and put them in here. Now, let's get into some advanced tips, because those were all very, very basic. Those are just like the bare bones, how you use customers in JSM. Now let's talk about a particular use case where, let's just say that our customers are all internal to the company. Let's just say we're running a help desk and we want any individual, the moment that they're onboarded onto the company, we want them to be a customer, right? And we don't want to go through all this extra work of setting up permissions and granting access and stuff like that. We just want them to just not be available. We want them to be an available customer, so that if they need a keyboard, if they need a mouse, whatever, password resets, whatever you're setting up, that they can do it automatically without, again, some other human in the loop. So for that, we're going to want to click on the gear and we're going to want to go over to user management. And once you're inside of user management, we're going to want to go to products. And under products, you're going to want to go to your Jira Service Management project, and we're going to click on Manage Product. And you're going to want to make sure that your service desk customers are in here with the role of customer. Now, if you're using SSO or Atlassian Access and you have a special group that's being pushed into JSM, then you want to make sure that that group also makes it in here. You can just simply add group, go find your group, and then give them the role of customer. Don't give them the role of agent, because if you give them the role of agent, those people are going to be paid users. And trust me when I tell you, you do not want to pay a $20 or $40 license for 1,000 people. Your agent should be the smallest amount of number possible, and your customer should be the biggest number possible. So make sure you click customer here, and that's going to add that group into having access to JSM, but then you can go project to project and fine tune them there. So this is just how you make it available. So that's another helpful tip for how do you automatically manage those customers. Now, the next tip that we have is under user access, you're going to have approved domains, and you're going to have this approved domain here. And I'm going to click on edit here. This should really be your domain, right? So you should approve. You shouldn't have any domain automatically, right? So for doing this, this is only for your domain. So you're at acmecompany.com, right? And so what you're going to want to do under Jira Service Management, as you can see here, there is the ability for you to add customers, and you'll notice that there's no action required. Set this up automatically from your domain, right? Any user that is added through your domain, we're just going to automatically make them a customer. And when you click save on this setting here, right, again, your JSM should have customer. Your mileage is going to vary here, but what makes this nice or beneficial is that the moment those users are created and they exist in your domain, they got an email, then they're going to be able to become a customer without any interaction because they're quote unquote trusted, right? And if you don't do that, then you have to manually go and add those users and then again, bring them in through the group or whatever, right? So there's those two different ways. If you're an SSO, then this is not a problem for you because you're going to add them through that group, that managed group, and that managed group is going to already have the customer role given to them. But if you're not using SSO, if you're not using that, then you're going to want to go down this route where for your domain, you still add them in and then they're automatically going to become a customer, right? So those are the two different helpful ways of being able to just instantly add customers or enable them to be customers without you, again, having to go through hoops to set those up correctly. So make sure you got one of those two set up where you're in the SSO environment with that last in access, or you're just in this any domain or your company's domain and you're automatically giving or granting that customer permission. So that's going to make your life easier. But that's pretty much it, right? So as long as that individual, as long as your users are automatically customers, then they're going to be able to interact with your JSM projects very, very naturally in just the way the product's used. But keep in mind that you're going to be able to intuitively also fine tune who's a customer, who's not a customer, who has permission, who doesn't have permission, and whatnot. So a lot of different settings that you're able to set up and kind of configure on your own so that you can, again, maximize or minimize the experience based on your company's security policies, requirements, whatever you got going on, right? So those are just some things for you to consider that are very, very helpful. For nearly 25 years, ReleaseTEAM has been helping organizations of all sizes to adapt, improve, and modernize their software development environments. Their experts know the tools, processes, and best practices to help you realize your DevOps goals. Let their product experts help you with your next project. Visit ReleaseTEAM.com for more information. So that's it for this video. Again, I just wanted to do a quick, here's customers 101. Here's also some very helpful tips because I deal with customers all the time. And these are some of the things that I'm always configuring, always setting up for projects to make sure that the experience as a customer is as helpful and as useful as possible. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you smash that like button. And if you made it this far and you haven't subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. Check out the links down below for our merch store, paid courses. And of course, you can try out some of the apps from the sponsors that make these videos possible. So go show them some love, click on their apps and give them a 30-day trial, leave them a review, and I'll see you in the next one.